Hey everybody, Hugh Kellenberger here. Dustin Dopirak, ScoopTalk. No special
Indeed.
guest tonight because the ginger has gone missing.
We're not sure where he is.
Indiana played North Carolina Central tonight. It's a team with a bunch of kids from high schools I was familiar with. A couple
It was
years.
like home for.
It was like home. Bizarro Jordan Holes confused me because he's from Sanderson. That's a fairly nice part of Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly nice high school. You know, seemed more like a Millbrook kind of kid to me.
Yeah. Yeah. He was tough looking.
He was tough. He was
pretty much Jordan Holes' evil twin.
Yeah, he was. It was something.
It was something else.
Yeah, I mean North Carolina Central is a transitional Division I team, the second one they've played this season. Actually,
Yeah.
a team a couple years ago that was starting a kid that was the sixth man on his high school team. That was on the first year I was in the business. I covered this high school team. He was their sixth man. The next year, as a freshman walk-on, starting in North Carolina Central.
Yeah.
So that was Indiana's opponent. North Carolina Central has improved since then. They've got a lot of transfers.
Yeah.
Really kind of going for that quick fix.
Just get you in there. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess is the point. It's less. I don't know if it's so much a quick fix as it is. Let's just put together a team that can hang in the MEAC. I mean, when you've got D2 talent.
Hanging
No,
in the
okay, well, obviously.
I know.
Obviously,
But it's a
I mean,
great
it's Division
sentence.
II. When you make when you make the transition, you're recruiting a different caliber of athlete all of a sudden. Now,
Yeah.
and as we've talked about in the past, I mean, the jump from D2 to D1 is not like the jump from D3 to D1. There are some kids down in D2 that, have the athleticism. Maybe there's some other issues, maybe academics, stuff like that that'll get you there. But there's still a major
recruiting.
difference between
Yeah.
the MEAC. They're trying to get to the MEAC, which is hard enough. And
The
trying to compete
MEAC,
with these teams.
you're those low major teams. You're talking about recruiting guys that have one or two things major wrong with them.
Yeah.
They had a point guard that was 5'7".
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of guy you're
155.
recruiting.
Exactly.
Right. You're
That's
recruiting
issue
the
you got.
post players that are 6'6".
Precisely. Maybe bulkier or something like that.
Right.
They got a couple nice players. C.J. Wilkerson's a really...
Yeah, he's a
didn't have
solid
a
guy.
great night tonight because he fouled out, but, he's a pretty good player. And even Bizarro Jordan Holes had 17 points, can shoot it.
Yeah.
It was a North Carolina Greensboro transfer.
So,
But anyway.
Yeah. But Indiana's 5-0. It is the first time that Indiana's 5-0 since 02-03, which was the season following the Final Four year.
Yes.
They ended up winning 8 games. In the 8 games that they won, they went to Maui, beat Gonzaga and Virginia in Maui.
Yeah.
And that was when Virginia was pretty good, and Gonzaga was obviously good.
Yeah.
I believe they beat Maryland.
It was loaded is the point.
It was loaded.
Yeah.
The first loss was to Kentucky.
Yeah.
It is fair to say that schedule and the schedule Indiana has faced in 2010-11...
Not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same even in the tiniest little bit.
No. I think Hugh and I kind of disagree as to whether or not this is a good idea or not. I don't really know. I mean, I think as we've said in the past, when I looked at it, this schedule was made to get them the NIT and just to continue some momentum. And, I guess you'll find out in January or February whether it was worthwhile, basically, or even March.
Right.
Whether it was a good idea just to get them some confidence early and get some wins and, just get to any kind of postseason tournament just so there looks like there's momentum. Obviously, at the time they made the schedule, they didn't know that they would have this kind of recruiting run already, but, maybe this keeps you from kind of, slipping maybe with some of those guys if some of them had not already committed. There's a few reasons why this might have made sense, but there's also the fact that it's just not that tough of a schedule.
It's just not that tough of a schedule, and there certainly is something to be said for building confidence. There's something to be said for having success, but there's also such a thing as false confidence.
True.
And there's also such a thing as crashing back to reality. And I don't know if we have learned if anything that's happened in these 5 games is going to transfer at all to the Big Ten season. And if your non-conference schedule is to prepare you for the Big Ten, then you should at least be doing something. You can play the low majors. You need to play the low majors.
Right.
Everybody plays low major opposition. There's nothing wrong with that.
Because you got to get home games.
Right. But instead of playing North Carolina Central for the second year in a row, play Morgan State, which was the MEAC champion, which went to the NCAA tournament. Instead of playing Mississippi Valley State, play East Tennessee State, which went to the NCAA tournament. You're getting a good game against a low major opponent who can actually do things.
That's true, but those guys operate on a different plane now, though, too. You know, those teams,
not from the meek.
A little bit.
Morgan State was not going to ask Indiana for a return game.
They weren't going to ask Indiana a return game. They might not take as many buys as they used to. Let me put it that way. I mean, you've probably dealt with this to some degree. Going
Historically,
to
black colleges.
True, could use the money.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. One way or another, I know there's a lot of talk among mid-majors, having covered James Madison, about we're not taking any more bye games. It's either we're going to play them on a neutral site, or we're going to try to schedule a home and home or something like that. We're going to do less of this where we just run around looking for a paycheck. So it's different. I mean, there's a lot of things involved there, and ideally, yes. I mean, you'd like to get more of a challenge there, but you don't know how many of them are just going to come play at your house anymore. But regardless, to talk about it, you know, we could go back and forth on that.
We could, and
they do build up at the very least. I mean,
they do build up. They have the Big Ten ACC Challenge game.
I think they expected that to be a tougher game too.
Right. They have the game with Kentucky, and they do go to Las Vegas.
Right.
There is something of a difference in that this year's tournament is in December, as opposed to in November, where some teams, other teams in the Big Ten are getting really quality opposition, Michigan State, Illinois, but it's because they play their tournaments in November. So there's all those things to be said. If you're going to play patsies, play a little bit better of a patsy.
Right. I mean, they have made a point to get a lot of teams in the last couple of years that have been transitional teams.
Right. That
are very recent additions to Division I. So,
right. I just don't know what I've really learned about this team because they haven't had to play well on offense yet.
No, they really haven't. I mean, they didn't play all that well tonight. And you're right. I mean, like, part of my game story is obviously about Christian Watford going 0 for 7 and then coming back and leading the team with 17 points. And I think one of the things he said is, last year I might panic. Well, also, in a Big Ten game, it might be the same way because maybe he doesn't ever get the looks that he eventually gets in the second half against Central.
Right.
So
Christian is getting to the line.
Yeah.
Christian is getting his points because right now he's getting the line, which is fine, which is what Tom Crean wants him to do. He talked extensively on Sunday about wanting Christian to lower that shoulder and drive through people and get to the lane because he's either going to get fouled or he's going to get all the way to the basket.
Right.
But he was 4 of 14 from the field.
Sure.
And Maurice Creek and Verdell Jones were 5 of 16, 4 of 16, or 5 of 16 from the field.
I think that's what it was. I think Creek was 3 for 8 and Jones was 2 for 8.
Right. So it was not a great night offensively. Not a terrific night defensively. Yeah. At least compared to previous games.
Still held a team under 60 points, but they shot 47.8% from the field. There was 22 turnovers, so there was kind of a give and take there, good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for this team to start playing somebody that is at Indiana's caliber.
Right.
I think we all are.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, writing these games is kind of getting dull. A little bit. But
I mean,
so there's only there's a few more of them. There's one more before they get Boston College, then they get Savannah State, which is a similar situation that I think has actually had to reapply for Division I membership because some things didn't go so well for that.
Yeah. Was Savannah State or then SIUE and South Carolina State?
Yes,
are the two preliminary Las Vegas Classic games. It's a weird tournament. You play a couple games on a neutral site, you're guaranteed. But even if you lose both of those games, you're still in the winner's bracket when you get to Vegas because
right. Well, it's actually a home game. It's not a neutral site game. They're both here.
Well, they're home. But they're at home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but then after that they play in Vegas, which is, they're guaranteed to go to Vegas no matter if they lose those first two games or not.
Well, they're all guaranteed to go to Vegas, but IU is guaranteed to be playing Northern Iowa, New Mexico, and Colorado. Yeah,
exactly.
Anyways. Friday, what will we see on Friday against Northwestern State, Dustin, real fast?
Same stuff we saw tonight, probably. I haven't really, looked at Northwestern State that much. I remember last year they got some athletes, but probably not enough of them. And that's more or less.
It's a team that went to the tournament a couple of years ago. It's really kind of fallen hard since then.
Yeah,
that was a team that they had really, really built up for. He had brought in a bunch of kids in one time, and then really. That was the culmination of 4 years for them, and since then has been a bit of a struggle.
Right, they haven't been able to come back to that.
It's life as a low major.
That it is.
Anyways,
we're gonna go.
Yogi coming in IU tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big secret.
Sorry.
Big secret.
Not to ruin the suspense. He should certainly have his moment in the sun, all that jazz. But I would be shocked if he gator jumps tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's it.